Lib Dem spokesperson Vikki Slade.
Thank you, Mr Vickers. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship. I congratulate my neighbour, the Honourable Member for Bournemouth West, for securing this debate, and it's great to see 4 of the MPs, all new from Dorset, here this afternoon. Just shows what a fantastic place Dorset is to visit. I agree with my honourable friend that high streets are, of course, the beating heart and the identity of place, but they also hold, as I think the gentleman over there mentioned, the communal memory of the people who live, work and visit a place. And I remember the high street of my own youth, a little town in Kent, in Edenbridge, where I grew up. And I used to visit the independent chemist, which doubled as a gift shop, to buy presents for my mum. I'm sure she never liked them. Or you'd go to the big town with, for summer holiday shopping, with stores like C&A and Chelsea Girl and department stores like Alders and Debenhams. But those were symptoms of their time. And I'm sure that our grandparents would have been shocked by the identikit towns that we've had over so many years. Maybe it's right and proper that some of those brands have succumbed to what's going on now. The negativity around online buying, but also the trend towards second-hand and vintage shopping, which is quite a positive move. But almost 13,000 retailers shut their shops last year. And according to a recent report for a Retail Institute, a perfect storm of higher costs and red tape means that 1 in 10 shop floor jobs are expected to disappear by 2028. And we need to make these moves with that as a background. But many places are bucking the trend, and I hate to be negative about places. So even Bournemouth, which has had so much negativity, has had footfall increase of 12.5% year on year. And we need to congratulate those amazing businesses who are making the difference. And we need to think about what the high street means for us now, a combination of shopping, entertainment, living, working, playing and studying, and, yes, as my honourable member from Taunton says, post offices. So we in the Lib Dems absolutely welcome all the ideas to shape and support our high streets and town centres. And of course, local and national governments have a vital role to play. But the issue now is not actually rent, it's business rates. Landlords are saying that rates are now higher than the rents that they can command in many cases, and a scheme that will address that is going to be the most welcome. And I'm sure the Minister is going to tell us about the new lower rate for retail, hospitality and leisure, but I think it needs to be something much more substantially different from the current model that we've got. I entered politics a long time ago on the local level to reform business rates, so it's great that I finally made it to this position to hopefully have an impact in that. The Lib Dems want to see business rates replaced with a commercial landowner levy to create a more level playing field, shifting the responsibility from tenant to landlord, but also ensuring high streets can compete against those businesses who don't have the same overheads. In abolishing the broken business rate system, we would be looking to tax the land value of commercial sites, not the productive investment, because that's the problem. At the moment, we're actually taxing business investment, which impacts productivity and wages. The biggest impact would be on small businesses in deprived areas, where they would then be able to themselves be part of that regeneration of a space through wider community development. And that can work alongside the rental auctions. We welcome the current discussion paper on the business rate reform, and I would like to ask the Minister if she's able to give us an update on when we can expect that to move forwards. In terms of this specific initiative, the Lib Dems are concerned about the potential costs of the scheme for local authorities, and whilst the programme has funding allocated to it, it's not clear whether local authorities would be able to use it to themselves take on leases to help them enable business growth and start-ups to take off. And there is no doubt that the financial burden on councils at the moment means that I am deeply concerned whether there is the capacity and desire to be able to deliver something on the scale of which is needed in some places. Now, turning to the industry themselves, they have doubts about this auction scheme and whether it will have the desired effect. And I agree with the member opposite who just spoke, and apologies I didn't get your constituency, about hospitality fit-outs. £30,000 you can spend just like that on a small independent cafe. And that money is just not going to come from anywhere, particularly in the limited amount of time that these auction leases will be arranged for. The funding available to create vacancy lists is really welcome, and the economic development teams have an amazing opportunity to drive the vision for their place forward, because I'm really concerned that landlords may themselves not really understand the other innovative uses for their buildings, whereas taking it to a local authority, they do have the ability to go out and scout for other businesses that might want to come into an area. So there is the opportunity through this if the funding can be used in a more flexible way. So I'm interested to know what funds can be, how councils can use the funding if perhaps they do not have property at this point in time where they can put forward an auction, but they want to get ahead of the game, because any building sitting empty for more than 12 months is a long time and the rot is already setting in. So getting ahead of the game would be something that's really useful to have. The council also shared that the high street rental auction is a big stick with which to beat landlords up who are not willing to engage. And I was reading in the Business Times a business lawyer who said, the question remains, are we genuinely operating within a market of idle landlords who require this intervention? Because if the regulation only offers a solution for the minority and does not tackle the root cause of greater economic issues around demand and affordability, these detailed provisions may not be the breath of new life the government envisages. I'm also concerned that this isn't going to do very much in small towns. It's understandable that the big towns like Mansfield and Bournemouth might well see some benefit from this, but smaller places like Broadstone or Wareham, or even places like Swanage and Wellington, might actually be invisible to the big councils as they look to the areas with a significant problem. But one or two of these long-standing empty buildings in these smaller towns can have just as much an impact, but are unlikely to be able to be worthwhile with these monies coming to councils to make this work. The final thing I would say on this is the reasons a property might be empty. There may be very good reasons that properties are empty, and if councils are going to use this effectively, we need to help landlords to bring properties into use if they simply can't afford to do it otherwise. The high street rental auction requires landlords to bring properties up to the minimum energy efficiency standards, and if they don't, they're going to potentially face criminal prosecution. This could leave landlords in a crippling financial situation. So what plans are there to support landlords who may wish to improve their stock but for whom it's not commercially viable? Across my constituency of Mid Dorset and North Poole, businesses have cited the huge costs associated with operating, and that's what's affecting confidence, that's what's putting them off investing in physical property. Soaring energy costs, the increase in national insurance contributions, and worries about the impacts of some of the measures in the Employment Rights Bill, as well, of course, as international insecurity, means that looking to take on a high street premise is probably far more difficult right now than it has been for a long time. So what consideration is the government offering to businesses who want to invest but are worried about doing so and having an immediate revaluation of their rates, like Hall and Woodhouse I raised last month? Without sustainable financial support for councils to eliminate the other issues around town centres, from rough sleeping, public transport initiatives and funding for police to deal with antisocial behaviour, I fear that this may have a minimal effect and be counterproductive. It is a good start, and to give credit to the previous government, they started it. I hope you're going to finish it, but I'd like to know how you're going to make this more interesting and effective for a broader range of towns.